This is World Now on TVC News. Glad you could join us. We'll begin here in Africa, where the Kenyan Medical Association says at least 23 persons have been killed and 30 others being treated for bullet wounds from violent protests. The protests, which escalated Tuesday, saw angry demonstrators against new tax proposals breaking through police lines to storm the national parliament in the capital, Nairobi, setting part of it ablaze. We have a report on this.
Protest against an unpopular finance bill, which includes several tax rises, have been ongoing for days in Kenya. But they escalated on Tuesday as members of parliament passed an amended bill. In President William Ruto's address to the nation Tuesday evening, he said all means would be deployed to, quote, thwart any attempt by dangerous criminals to undermine the security and stability of Kenya, end quote. President Ruto also said it is not in order or conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under the nation's constitution, and expect to go scot-free. He has deployed the military to quell the protest. Several groups have accused the security forces of overreacting by using live ammunition. Protesters broke into the national legislature, vandalizing the interior and setting parts of the complex on fire. The maze, which symbolizes the authority of the legislature, was stolen. Police then allegedly opened fire with live ammunition. That's according to the Kenyan Medical Association. On Wednesday morning, the Speaker of the Parliament, Moses Wetangula, commended the youth for leading the discourse on the finance bill and the state of the country's economy. But he said that violence, disrespect and wanton destruction of property and blatant attack on public institutions will not be condoned. The killing of protesters has also been widely condemned, including condemnation by human rights defenders, lawyers and the church. Catholic bishops have appealed to the police not to shoot at the protesters, but advised them to remain peaceful. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says he is deeply saddened by the reports of deaths and injuries, including cases reported.
We apologize for the abrupt end of that report, but let's now cross live to our guest, Patrick Oka, who is an African affairs analyst. He joins us via Zoom from London. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Koka. The protests in Kenya have probably, gone on dimensions never envisaged, with about 23 people already killed. Do you think the protests are actually, has been hijacked, as been speculated?
It's too early to come to such conclusions, especially when this one is being described as an organic eruption. Number two, it was predictable because the increase in taxes, especially made worse by high cost of living, definitely is predictable that the citizens will rise up against such very terrible economic situation. So it will be too hasty to assume that the demonstrations or protests were hijacked. However, until a full-blown investigation is carried out and people are investigated and made to account for their actions, we cannot jump to such conclusions.
All right, but what's your reaction to how the Kenyan government is handling the protests?
I must say that it's public notice now, especially in these days of information age that we've heard about this disproportionate use of force. We've heard about lack of empathy, especially in policy implementation and crafting. We've also seen that there have been political thick-headedness or inflexibility on the sides of political leaders, especially when you don't make use of mediation and dialogue approaches or options to resolve these issues. And like I said earlier, these violence is being predicted. ADB, in its biannual report in February, did mention the high cost of living will create unrest, and specific African countries were mentioned. And going further, of course, we have seen that there's a little bit of tough decisions being taken. I think while tough decisions are necessary, empathy must also step in, and mediation must take its course. And now we have to take note. Kenya is gaining some very, very high points in the international community. It's just been welcomed as the first non-NATO ally. Number two, its role in Haiti is really commendable, especially as it has brought in policemen, the police unit to lead the multinational UN multinational effort to bring peace to Haiti.
Indeed, because a lot of questions as to the protection of human rights, in Kenya as it stands. And we see that this protest has seen Kenyans unite beyond tribal and other divisions in a youth-led effort, to keep the finance bill from becoming law. But the lawmakers don't seem to be paying attention to this. As a matter of fact, the protesters set ablaze a part of the parliament on Tuesday.
Indeed, we must not encourage violence. However, leadership, politicians must empathize. They must show that this affects human beings that could react or respond to their decisions. And honestly, looking at everything, if there had been deep consultations across board, across the lines, not minding whether it's opposition or your supporters. People nobody wants to be involved in violence. But when politicians decide they don't want to empathize, then they could expect some level of resistance to whatever decisions they take.
All right, and the protesters actually don't seem to be backing down because they are calling for continuation of, well, they use the term peaceful protest to drive home their demand. And, what do you make of that drive going forward despite the resistance from the authorities?
I must say, predictably, that now that it appears the bill has been passed, I can assure you that the resistance, the protest may not necessarily come down. Of course, the government may use the instruments of state to keep calm and suppress some level of such resistance. For example, we have reports of already people disappearing or being picked up and their family members are looking for them. It's predictable. However, this is the time that good governance set in. All the structures of state must be brought to look for ways and means to mitigate economic hardship, mitigate people's concerns, and calm down the state so that peace can reign.
Indeed,
Africa needs peace.
Peace is very much needed. African Affairs Analyst Patrick Coker, thank you so much for talking to us on World Now.
Thank you.